welcome to the Cultural Commission Subcommittee meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and first we'll start with roll call and see if we have a quorum.
You think? Well, maybe our brains aren't here, but
Barbara Dineo?
I'm here, I think.
Danielle Cook? Here. Terry McBride, present. Okay, we have a quorum. Public comments. Come on, everybody. Okay, so no public comments at this time. The first agenda item is possible action on approval of minutes, but we don't have minutes yet.
No, Tamar has, as you might imagine, she has a lot of different commissions she has to develop minutes for. I've chatted with her several times. She will get to them as quick as she can. There are some time constraints that she has related to what the recording secretary has to do. They have a time limit now that they have to get minutes out for, and so she's basically prioritizing the minutes based on that time frame she has to meet. So you're in the queue, okay. So you'll get them.
That's fine. So number 2 is modifications to the agenda. There was going to be a presentation by Brewery Arts Center. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've had conversations with them over the past week or so. I had full expectations that they would be here, so they just may be running a little late this morning, so if we could just defer that agenda item until when they arrive, that would be awesome.
I suspect they're going to have to come back and talk to the full commission when we have a draft document as well. Okay, so we'll just plow ahead. So meeting items, so modifications to the agenda. We're going to go ahead and skip past the Brewery Arts Center presentation on their strategic planning and the role they envision, and go right into item 3B, which is to develop a Carson City Arts and Cultural Master Plan.
Madam Chair, I've been thinking about this, and I wonder if we could add one item, and that's the Carson City Cultural Commission Strategic Plan done in 2011. Never voted upon, but it sure has got some meaty information in it.
So what do you mean by adding it?
Well, for discussion.
Okay.
Just discussion.
Okay, well then you can brief us because none of us have read that.
How did I get it? No one else did.
No, I did, but it was weeks ago, and it's, yeah.
Okay. I guess because I was expecting that the Brewery Arts Center folks would be here and we'd have lots of questions for them.
Yeah.
Can we table that
sure
until the next meeting and give the full subcommittee a chance to read through it? Unless you'd like to make some comments about it today in the meeting, and that's great if you'd like to make some comments about it. But what I thought we could do, and this is not going to be gripping TV, editing our submissions on the 2 different areas that we chose to write updates on. So I'm sorry, that's not going to be real. And we can read it out loud so it'll be on the record, at least in audio. This is the first thing we've written, and so we did not submit it for posting yet. So after this editing process, then we should have something available for interested members of the public to read. So unless anybody else has any other ideas?
If that's, these are just comments. There certainly isn't anything attached to this about let's do it. But I was incredibly impressed with the 2011. There's Gina. Shall we just back right up here?
Go ahead and make it finish.
Oh, okay. Because I learned a lot about this particular body and why and when it was created and the rationale behind its creation. So in 2006, this became a reality. And the rationale behind it, we are not the producers of art. We don't have a vested interest in terms of who gets funding, who doesn't, et cetera, et cetera. And they felt at that point in time that this commission serves as a coordinator and catalyst, bringing government, the arts and cultural community, and the public together for the benefit of all Carson City citizens by making available current, formal, written plan for financial and program sustainability for the whole town. And that seems to me.
Was that,
Peter Barton was the chair.
okay, so was that featured as a mission statement?
Yeah.
Or- Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
That's why this came into being, was as you know, the representatives of the community at large and individual commission members who can look objectively, one hopes, at what we need to be doing, what we need to find out, who is applying for what, how does it get distributed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it takes, and I don't mean this unkindly, but it takes the little fiefdoms or groups and brings us all together. And I think that's why they created this. At least that's the tenor that I get from reading this incredibly 12-page, beautifully done piece of work. So I was stunned that, one, it didn't get voted on, and two, we're not looking at it. It's only 4 years old.
Yeah.
Not 15.
Okay, super.
That's all.
Okay, thank
Thank you.
Okay, so we had moved to item 3B, but let's jump backwards to item 3A, which is discussion only on the Brewery Arts Center's progress on their strategic plan and the role they want in the city's arts and culture master plan. And I believe Gina Hill is going to step up to the mic and present on that, or at least field questions.
I think I have to sign in. Actually, Kyle was going to do that, but I don't know where Kyle is. At this point, we have gone past our crisis phase, and we're really into stability and sustainability. And obviously, looking to see what role we need to play moving forward as a community in the arts organization. And I really want to find out from each of you, I know discussions has been made with Kyle Horvath, but where you see the Brewery Arts Center and how we fit in with that.
Okay, well, I'll start. The Brewery Arts Center was identified as the local arts agency years ago, and it's in a city ordinance, am I correct? It's in, go ahead.
I don't know if it was identified in the city ordinance necessarily, but I do believe in the 2002 capital arts, creative capital, thank you, they had assumed, or as a part of the document, they had assumed that role as the local art agency. And that's something that one of the questions I know the commission has had, or the subcommittee has had, is where do they see themselves assuming that role as identified basically, 15 years ago, or continuing that role maybe? That would be maybe a better term. It's just, Gina, as you mentioned, you've kind of gone through this kind of rocky time in the Brewery Arts Center, and you're coming out on the other side, which everyone's thankful for, a better organization. But moving forward, and that's part, I think it's more of a discussion that I think the subcommittee wants to have versus you telling us or us telling you. I think it's more of a discussion about where are you going just as an organization, and then how would you like to see your organization fit into the overall plan for the city that they're looking at. So,
speaking quite openly, we do see ourselves as the Council for the Arts in Carson City. We have this beautiful facility that is really our only asset, and we want to leverage it to the maximum. And I think that is our duty as the community center, to work with these other organizations in order to do that. And how that's done, I think that's going to be decided by the commission.
I think it might be decided by your board.
Well, and by our board, but how do you want to use, this is leveraging the facility. Okay, we don't have staff. We have 2 staff people, but we do have facilities. So I think it is that discussion with other arts organizations to see how that is best utilized. We have 2 blocks. There's no street in between now as of a couple weeks. So, so where does that fit in?
Okay, I'll come back to that point if it's all right with you. Is the current mission statement the statement that was created does everybody know it? It's very short.
Yes.
Brewery Arts Center is a nonprofit corporation that enriches the quality of life by cultivating arts and culture for all. That's it. Having said that, have you developed the strategic plan?
Yes.
Can we have a copy of it?
Absolutely.
Because that sort of will give us the vision of where you need to go. And I know that some of us have envisioned a staff to really do this. And that's about 5 or 6 people who would need to be in charge of making sure that it is fair and equitably distributed, you know, across the board. And then, you know, what is your role in relation to all of that? So I just want it clear what we're doing.
Right. We want to make sure that you feel comfortable in your capacity of whatever your board decides is going to be your mission forward. We don't want to put onerous duties on the Brewery Arts Center group that they can't accomplish. So we don't want to put you in a bind.
Right.
We want you to take on the role that you feel comfortable moving forward the next 10, 15 years with.
Go ahead, Danielle.
And I guess when I envision arts agency that we need, it's a lot bigger than those 2 blocks.
Yeah.
It needs to reach all corners of Carson City. And I mean, and it needs to support, you know, not just the Brewery Arts Center and your great programs, your art programs and your music, but also the other organizations that we have in town as well. I mean, it needs to be able to encompass all of those. So I just want to make sure that you see yourself as bigger than those 2 blocks.
Right, right. But my point in all of that is, you know, we don't have the staff currently, obviously, but we do have the facility, and that's, I think, what we're bringing to the table is leveraging that facility to perhaps build that staff and build that build what we see as a community moving forward.
Do you think BAC could find itself working with the commission if that becomes the LAA, Local Arts Agency, in terms of fairness, you know, across the board to everybody? Because what the council, what we've got in front of us is a long list of what this commissioner agency or BAC would be doing, and it's extensive, and it's going to take a lot of money. It's going to take renovation of buildings. It's going to take finding warehouses for creativity for artists. It is huge, and so, you know, It says here, one line says, the BAC needs to update and clarify what its role is for artists of all types. And so, what's the vision? Where would they be housed? What, you know, how many staff do you feel that you would need to do this? So it's a really huge role. And I'm curious as to whether or not you have any of this information so that you would know the points we're looking at. Right.
I personally don't. Again, I thought Kyle was going to be, I apologize. And again, I've never seen the document, but we did discuss it at our last board meeting, and there were concerns on both sides about this, you know, as to what our capacity is right now. We're really in a good place right now, that it's very, very exciting, but whether we could take on this role or not is a different matter.
If the commission were to be sort of the forefront, and you could mix Brewery Arts Center's spaces and activities in together, how would that work? I mean, if there were a department, say, in the city.
Right.
That was the arts and culture, okay? And it had dedicated staff. And, you know, it could be fair and equitable across the board. Could you envision the BAC working with that department?
I actually can, because, you know, I've looked into other cities and other municipalities where that is the case, and it works very, very well. And I think that may be the only way it would really be successful for all agencies involved.
Interesting.
So I think we just need to look at best practices and what other cities of our size are doing as far as models.
I imagine you looked at some of those best practices as you were developing your strategic plan. And so your strategic plan, is it in draft form or has it been signed off?
It's been adopted by the board as of, I think, November of last year, November 2014.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you please forward a copy of that document to Vern at Parks and Rec? Thank you.
And I'd be more than happy to send that out to the subcommittee. I'd be glad to do that.
Because, well, as our thoughts are developing through this master plan project, the Brewery Arts Center keeps coming up. And we're not quite sure what we can put in your corner as far as you taking responsibility for. And so we need to look at that strategic plan. And I also suspect, Gina, that you're probably going to have to come back and have a discussion with the full commission when we have a draft for them to review and comment on and edit. And they will have further questions because there's 7 people on that than the 3 of us. So.
I agree, and I apologize for not being fully prepared for this today. And we do have the draft form. It is a 5-year plan, but really focuses on the next 2 years through the end of 2016. So we're halfway through 2015, so there is a lot of room in there. So it's only an 8-page strategic plan focusing on the 2 years, and we've pretty much accomplished everything already in it. So, there is room.
Okay, super, thank you very much. Anyone else have any?
As you know, having been involved for a very long time with BAC, I must say I'm very impressed with how you've moved forward. Things are starting to really happen, and I thank you all.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
So are there any public comments? There is.
There is. Thank goodness.
Karen Abowd for the record, and I just wanted to make this subcommittee aware that a grants administrator position was approved at the last board meeting. So that's a step in the right direction too. So in addressing staff, staff of 1, and we'll be looking for grants, you know, throughout the city, but I think I see this commission appealing to that person and saying we are looking for grants for. Okay, so.
And looking at most of the grants and funders, you're at least a year ahead in terms of getting things put together to even request grants. So we have to have good timing, you know, and coordination of all of the efforts. So, yeah.
Okay, so thank you for your thoughts on working towards getting a funding mechanism for arts and cultural projects in Carson City. So we're going to move back now to the gripping TV part to develop a Carson City Arts and Culture Master Plan. And I would be happy to be the first on the chopping block. Just
Do you want me to go in the
it's up to, if nobody feels particularly shy, we can just go through them in the order of the document. Yeah, all shrinking violets. Okay, so, well then, let's start with the first, which was performing arts, if I remember correctly. And Danielle chose that as her update, one of her 2 updates. And if you'd like, please just read it into the record.
Okay.
Do we have a copy to go through with you?
It was in the packet, right?
Was it?
Yeah, it's under 3D.
Okay. I think Barbara's looking for hers. I don't.
My what? I have mine
I'm
right
gonna have
there.
to just look over your shoulder.
Did you need an extra packet? I do have an extra packet.
I do need a copy of that, sorry.
No, that's fine.
That's for sure. What the heck?
It was one of those mornings.
And Margaret, you're okay too?
I'm one of those years.
You want one of these two, or are you okay for Danielle?
It was attachment
Oh, okay.
3A. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, because, Danielle was able to, if you get that, get that to me ahead of time and put it in the packet before. There you go.
Cool.
Okay, so Danielle, just go ahead and read through your bullets, and we'll stop you if we need to elaborate as we go through them, or we need to correct something that we thought we understood differently, okay?
Sounds like a plan. So this is adding to the updates from Performing Arts, which was already, the points were made in the creative capital that we need the collaboration between BAC, WNC, and the city to fulfill our cultural needs, develop St. Teresa's as a venue, which is now the Performance Arts, upgrade the BAC Black Box Theater, build a theater at WNC, enlarge the Community Center Theater, and transform the community center into a cultural center, and then create a community network of theater clubs, cafes, local musicians to foster audiences. Now, these were the points from the creative capital. And so for our update, the Brewery Arts Center Performance Hall, it is complete, but it does need continuing makeover. The Brewery Arts Center has apparently added an outdoor amphitheater as far as a venue space as well. The Brewery Arts Center has a 100-seat black box theater with an upgraded sound system, but is still in need of additional lighting upgrades. As far as I can tell, the WNC Theater has been shelved for the time being. There are questions of funding, parking, et cetera, but we should at least evaluate the feasibility of Marlette Hall and the Nugget Hall as venues. I know that WNC has other assets that might not be a full theater. The Upstage Theater that had been mentioned is now part of the Silver State Charter Schools Performance Hall. We need to explore a usage agreement with the Legislative Amphitheater, see what kind of state property can be co-opted by Carson City. Now, the Bob Baldrick Theater in the Community Center is in need of upgrades, and now some of those are being covered under the recent 1/8 cent capital improvement tax, but more space is needed. And so I guess now that this was brought up by Ellie, that now that the MAC is being built, the multi-purpose athletic center is being built, what's the feasibility of using the gym as, and then of course at one point in time the thought of a balcony had been explored, but is that still possible under code? Needless to say that the Bob Baldrick Theater still needs a lot. We definitely want to include an educational component to our performing arts, get the schools involved. Now, our public venues that we do know are available, of course, are the Baldrick Theater. Now, the Texera Pavilion, what can we do there? Fuji Park has gone through quite a few upgrades. The Legislative Amphitheater, now is the Stewart Indian School a feasible place for an outdoor amphitheater?
I'll chime in on this. If you've been to the powwow, there is a really nice area for outdoor events, but they won't be modifying that historic landscape very much.
Okay.
because it's going to be a national monument and stuff. So they're going to try and keep it in its historic period. Now, there is the indoor amphitheater, the auditorium there.
Okay.
That eventually will be restored. So,
Okay.
but that's not outdoors, that's an indoor, 300 seating.
But still, 300.
That's
Yeah.
300
that's-
seats?
Yeah.
Wow. Nice.
So then in that case, that is something that we should put on our,
Forward to, yeah.
but still a great place for festivals, indoor and outdoor components.
Correct.
Now, our commercial and dance venues, or our music and dance venues in Carson are actually pretty abundant. We've got a lot of people in town that are trying to bring music and especially because we're so close to Tahoe and so close to Reno, which are much larger venues. We get a lot of great performers that come through this area. Carson Lane's 11th Frame Lounge. El Charro's offers salsa and swing dance. Kama Coffee, music and poetry and dance. 3rd Street, which will be shortly blocked off and turned into a pavilion, is a great outdoor space right by the Firkin and Fox. The Farmers Market offers music. Jimmy G's Cigar Bar, the Blue Bowl, and East Telegraph Street. Telegraph Square, the Carson Cigar Company, West Side Poorhouse, Whiskey Tavern, the Spoke Bar and Grill, Sassafras Eclectic Food Joint, Adele's, Living the Good Life, Glen Eagles, Tap Shack, they have a cute little patio, Yaples Ballroom, Tahoe Ridge Bistro, Casino Fandango, Carson Station, Carson Nugget, and then of course the Downtown Business Association Wine Walk all have music and dance on occasion. So I mean we are building a place for people to go and enjoy. So it's just what more can we do to I guess support the musicians that we've got and become a larger draw. Jazz and Beyond, it's and it's what 12th, 13th year, and it's slowly adding even more cultural components to that. Art, this year their kickoff is at the Bliss Mansion is the jazz, but also they're having a small art show at some of their speakeasy dance party. They always have a live artist, and then they raffle that off. So that can be a demonstration of how we can introduce even more cultural into festivals that we already have. But we want to look at the participation numbers of Jazz and Beyond and some of the other, to see, just to give ourselves the credit that, Carson City does have a cultural draw.
Yeah, may I add something in here? We did have numbers, but that was back in 2002.
Right.
And it would really be nice to get the last 2 years, not just one.
Or even the last 5.
Last 5, so that we really know, if an organization is going to be getting more money, if they're going to be getting more time, if they're going to more visibility, what's the return on the investment is what I'm also looking at.
Those numbers might be available in their proposal for grant funding through the RAC.
Yeah.
So, as I recall, they had to submit
Oh, interesting.
attendance numbers as part of their application.
Did we have that in the applications that we read?
I believe so.
Yes, you did.
We had that.
Yes,
So it's all- okay.
every application that, again, this is a new process for the Cultural Commission, but the Redevelopment Authority for years has asked as a part of their application process for those kind of numbers. So anyway, last year, of course, back in June, the Cultural Commission had the opportunity to take a look at those numbers. So I would assume that would be consistent with the next round of applications as well, at least so I would expect.
Okay. You need to. Madam Chair.
Oh, please.
There's a public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure you have all the up-to-date information as well, because I heard you talking about the performance hall, and we just got a brand new sound system upgrade last Friday night, and the lobby has just been renovated in the past month. And
What do you mean renovated?
renovated? Well, we have murals on the walls now, and it looks like an art center now, and actual a theater lobby. And we had a theater person from a theater professor from Indiana come in and do that for us this summer. And we are in the phase one of a 4-phase process to upgrade the lightings to all LED lights within the performance hall. We're doing it at 4,500 bytes at a time. So we're in phase one of that. And our total capacity there, there's been discussion and other numbers thrown around, but our total capacity there is 265, I believe. I think 300 was thrown around, and it really isn't.
Karen Aboud for the record. The only thing I didn't hear mentioned was the Nevada State Prison, because that is now a venue as well. The Chamber has held an event there. They did the inaugural event. So I think, and from what I understand, the acoustics were tremendous at that event.
Can you give us a little more detail on what kind of location that is? What kind of...
You know, I wasn't able to attend that. It's outdoor. It's in the courtyard in the building, the exercise yard, I believe is how it's dubbed. And so that is where an outdoor venue can be held. So.
Is there parking?
Yes. Lots of it. Mm-hmm.
That's always good to hear.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at my notes. Sharon Ross.
Thank you. Regarding attendance, those of us that receive public funding from the State Arts Council have to track constantly. So we all have our attendance numbers for as long as we've been receiving grants. So they're available. It takes some digging, but they've all been recorded.
We may come to you when the full commission meets and starts discussing this master plan. We'll probably have some questions like attendance numbers for CCAI, just to give you a heads up.
Okay, if you could give me advance notice, because I don't have them here. Thank you.
I think one of the main reasons that we need the participation numbers is really just to prove ourselves as a force to be reckoned with, is that this culture, stuff is already happening here, and just, that it's already an important component of Carson City, and, just to give us that extra muscle behind, like this is what we want to do, and it's because we're already doing it.
Well, and if we have numbers, I mean, we can point to specific, events that are drawing people in, and also if it starts to look, if we continue to track them, at least, informally or, sporadically throughout the Cultural Commission's life, we'll know what's really drawing people and what's not, or what we're going to need to expand spaces for.
Very true.
Right. So there's another public comment.
Thank you. Have you all gotten the new Jazz and Beyond handout?
No.
See, this is the thing, is how do we distribute information?
Sharon Ross comes and
Sharon gives us things. Otherwise, we don't know.
Thank you. Well,
Thank you.
I get their emails, but. Okay, we also want to continue performing arts, moving right along. We want to assess the usage agreements for venues with schools. All the schools have gyms. What else? Just what space do we have, and how can we use it as effectively as possible? Do we still want to explore the community center as a cultural center, and if not, where else would be an appropriate space for that. We need to just encourage community participation as performers and as the audience. Make those, once again, communication is key. Make those opportunities, visible, so that people know that that what we've got going on, what they can participate in, and then show up in a support. And we also, better communication is needed in planning events. What is scheduled when, and who's the steering group behind these events? Because I know that some of it changes year to year. It might be the same event, but who's behind it changes year to year. And so I think it's a little difficult for people that want to get involved to know who they need to talk to. So.
Well, also, if there's a master calendar that's going to be produced by, I would assume CCAB, I would assume that that's where we really want to start getting collaborative efforts going. And not just in a calendar, but it's in how do we promote events. Is there something up on the roadways, et cetera, that says such and such is coming to town, or whatever we need to do, but I think we need to bring them in. And again, if it's a centralized commission or organization who literally is on top of the marketing, the PR, the what's happening in town, the who are the artists, et cetera, and keeping them all unbiased, and just in terms of funding and all that kind of thing, and who's who. I mean, let's get rid of all of that in the past. And I know that great efforts have been made to change all of that behavior that when I first came on board, it was happening. Well, we need to change all that. That's why I think centralizing an LAA is really going to help process all this.
Well, and it seems like, well, because the fact that, the Cultural Commission didn't exist, there's a lot of, it's very fractured. That seems, you've got one group that does the banner over the roadway, and then someone else that, that does this over here. And so if there was some way to, I don't know, get them all under the same umbrella, just as far as our bureaucratic structure.
Danielle, can I ask you to, when you edit your points, can you make it clear on that cohesiveness of getting the word out about different performances, and that we need to have a centralized, whoever's going to take it on, it needs to be centralized and it needs to be cohesive. I suspect the Visitors Bureau would be the best place, but Brewery Arts Center might be hard for out-of-town people to figure out where to go check a calendar. If there can be a link to different calendars on the CCVB website, that may work.
It's already there.
So, yeah,
it's
go
already
ahead.
there.
It's already there. And so it is up to each of the organizations to get their information to that organization. I would hate to task the BAC with marketing. That's a large task and takes a crew of its own. And since marketing the town is the mission of, and putting heads in beds is the mission of the Visitors Bureau, it's more appropriate in that camp. Also, each agency needs to be aware that there are calendars that they can, it costs a little bit of money, but calendars that can put you in, like Tahoe, Sacramento, various areas to market their event. It's what we did for the Greenhouse Project concert. So there are ways to do it, and the Visitors Bureau is the beginning, but they have to make that contact. So.
I know there was discussion in the last meeting or the meeting before that about the Cultural Commission being one portal to making sure everything gets funneled to the Visitors Bureau. I'm not quite sure how that would work, but it's something to talk about.
Who pays their salaries, please? Visitors Bureau. Does the city? I mean,
There's a budget which we just approved, and it's the room tax that covers that. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that's the deal. There was an interlocal agreement with the city, but it's a separate agency. Just so you know.
Okay. You're on, Danielle.
Okay, thank you, Danielle. Unless you have any further comments to share with us?
Madam Chair, I do have something I'd like to read into the record related to this particular agenda item. It comes from Ellie Bugley.
Okay.
She has an email that she sent to me.
Okay.
The email was sent to me on Friday, July 24th. And so it was a larger email, but I'll take out what the context was for this particular agenda item. So it says, quoting, "I hope the inventory of performance spaces and galleries is for background information and not for publication as part of the cultural master plan, because these change frequently. Also on the list of agenda item 3BA, which is what we're talking about here, on Exhibit A, some places may be missing. A2 Zen has a stage inside and holds their regular performances and weekly open mics, or not have a complete current names, like I think it's, forgive the spelling on this, but Maisie Harris Jesse Blacksbach Theater." Did I get that right? Okay, spelling, pronunciation. And then she has a follow-up comment. It would be okay to have a list and say others, or make some statement that the list may be incomplete or subject to change. So those were some thoughts that Ellie sent along to me, and I promised I would read into the record for her.
Right, and yeah, in a master plan, maybe it's not appropriate to have a full inventory of every place that has something creative going on, but we can discuss that with the full commission. I say since there is a list now and others is going to be added at the end of that.
I only missed one.
Right, right. No, you did pretty good. So then we'll just leave it to the pleasure of the commissioners, and I know that Ellie will be there. Yeah.
Can we get a clarification from you, Gina? Is it the Maisie Jesse Theater, or is it the Black Box Theater? Because when people would come in, they would be, "Where's the Black Box Theater?" And it had been renamed, and the thing was up there, and so what are we to call it?
Well, right now, I'm in the process of getting the signs changed outside, because the signs still say Don Reynolds Theater.
Yeah.
Two of the signs outside, and I've been talking with a local sign maker to get that changed. He's working on that right now. So it will be the Maisie Harris Jesse Black Box Theater in the interim, and then eventually we'll probably drop the Black Box, because that's a very long name.
Yeah.
So we want to just make everything consistent. Right now, we're calling it the Black Box, because neither name is on any signage is correct.
Okay, thank you.
The other thought I might just throw out on this topic is that the 2001 plan that talks about the actual inventory, there had been a decision made a while back that we weren't going to reinvent the inventory. So I think you want to be careful when you move forward with the creative capital plan, which will eventually spur the arts and cultural plan for Carson City, not to get into a whole lot of lists. I think that you can use them as maybe examples or other types of things to illustrate a point within the plan itself. But I think because of time constraints and just kind of the way as I understand the general gist of this is going, is that we're working on the master plan, not going through an inventory process.
Well, and when we do get that dedicated staff member and an assistant on arts and culture in the city, then they can do a full inventory and have that available for the city. Okay. So the next topical area that was identified in Creative Capital was visual arts. I was in charge of doing that update, and I ended up just going on and on and on. It's about a page. I will go ahead and read it into the record. So I didn't do bullets per se. I just did short paragraphs. So these are the summarized points that were made for Creative Capital, in the Creative Capital document in 2002 under visual arts. There were 3 main points. One was to establish 1 or more professional art galleries and museums in town. 2 was to attract art galleries to the downtown area which showcase high quality, was the term used in that document, works of art by widely recognized artists. And number 3 was to create an arts and public places program throughout public and private spaces in Carson City. So here's my update, taken from all of everybody's wonderful and thoughtful comments. A nascent arts and public places program has been established along the East Highway 50 and I-58 580 corridors through transportation projects, and the downtown Carson Street corridor 3rd Street Plaza redesign will include public art. Therefore, one identified goal for encouraging visual arts, C3 above, has been partially met. It is a work in progress. Another stated goal in Creative Capital was the establishment of a gallery at WNC. That's Western Nevada College. Western Nevada College has a gallery now and has recently exhibited a national traveling exhibit, Always Lost, made possible through private donations. So far, so good?
Yep. That's their own exhibit.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Okay, so the Courthouse Gallery through CCAI shows works by artists that are widely recognized and is filling the role as a facility that has insurance, security, and lighting controls. In addition to the Courthouse Gallery, the library, legislative building, the community center, the Sierra Room, are public art spaces. Other exhibit spaces include the OXS Gallery at the Nevada Arts Council, the Nevada Artists Association exhibit at Brewery Arts Center, and soon the lobby of the community center will be used for larger installations. City Hall is not practical because there isn't adequate wall space, and I suppose in the spirit of Chairman Boogley's comment about inventory lists, I'll make sure and put "and others." So add "and others." Let me read on. Ideally, a Carson City Art Museum in the area of downtown would anchor the visual arts for the community. Perhaps with cooperation with the Nevada Museum of Art in Reno, a satellite location could be supported. Until then, multiple and varied exhibit spaces can fill some of that void, and they include, among other spaces, Carson City Chamber Office and the Carson City Visitors Bureau feature local artisan crafts for sale. Artsy Fartsy is a new gallery addition to the downtown area. Comma Coffee continues to exhibit rotating shows of local artists, and there are additional small exhibit spaces appearing in business and restaurants around town, LA Bakery, Cafe at Adele's, etc. I toyed with including the Great Basin,
It's for sale.
that's the art gallery that's for sale, and I decided not to include it. Okay, Carson City Cultural Commissioners have suggested that the arts community in the city consider adding a pop-up exhibit space that a landlord could offer for intermittent regional or local artists to exhibit for one night or weekend only. Shipping containers might also be an option. Reno occasionally enjoys these very temporary shows in vacant retail spaces with the landowner's permission. Another suggestion for temporary visual displays is the Arts on the Corner program, based on Grand Junction, Colorado's model. Movable art to be placed on sidewalks in front of businesses is another temporary installation idea. The drab green electric boxes, I don't know, what are
is
those
that?
called?
I'm not sure either, but I think that works for the moment.
Yeah, we'll leave it in there for now. We'll get the official.
Trash cans? What are they?
No, they're those big, the utility
Oh, the
boxes
utility box. Stick stuff
that
on
nobody notices, but you're walking by them all the time.
At Tahoe there on Highway 50, everywhere. Oh, Great stuff.
Okay, so those traffic control units, those are, I guess, some of those are traffic control boxes too?
Yes, for example, like at an intersection downtown, you'll have probably some sort of an electrical service that deals with the lights themselves providing power as well as the overhead street lights. Then you also have what they call the switching gear for the actual lighting itself, and that's controlled by Public Works. So Public Works gets in there and times the lights and does those kind of things.
Okay, so the green utility boxes and the public waste containers, especially the barrels in Mills Park, should all be painted by local artists who want to volunteer their time and talent, allowing them to clearly include their name and contact information to give them free exposure. This is cheap, folks. To the public at large. A centralized informational portal needs to be established for various visual arts exhibits and happenings. And I put in parentheses, C, development and support. Again, getting back to that cohesive, centralized place where people can check. Okay, 2 more paragraphs. Carson City Public Schools could become an outlet for giving arts experiences to young people and budding artists and school children. This is how the local art community grows, through exposure and support to the arts. Further, schools are located in every neighborhood in our city, so kids of all types and backgrounds could attend art lessons. Some city support would be needed to operate art classes on weekends, for example, but these classes could be held by volunteer artists. Are we okay? Mm-hmm. Okay, final paragraph. A large fine arts festival should be established in the summer months, coordinated to not overlap with other arts festivals in the Reno, Carson, Tahoe region. This would foster development of our local artists and Carson City as an arts destination at least once annually. Finally, the Stewart Cultural Center should be considered as a potential additional space for high-quality exhibits, and the Great Basin Native Artist Group has exhibited there twice already, and the space isn't even renovated yet. And that's all I have for visual arts. And there is public comment.
I'm sure there is. I think one of the things I wanted to mention is something not mentioned in that summary was the artisan store inside the Brewery Arts Center, and we're looking to expand that, hopefully within the next few weeks, to encompass more space. And also wanted to put in the minds of everybody around is in an attempt to really utilize our facility to fulfill our mission. We wanted to throw out the ballroom as an exhibit space, as a temporary exhibit space, perhaps a pop-up weekend kind of thing, as opposed to what it's been utilized as the past. I think it's mission drift to kind of do other things up there that aren't arts related, and we really want to attempt to throw that space out there. And as far as I'm not sure if you're aware of another program that we started this summer. Right now we're working with Food for Thought. For the Park Terrace Park area, they give away between 70 and 100 lunches every day in that park. We have partnered with them, and after the kids get their lunch, they come up to our micro Brewery Arts Center, located in between the park and Empire Elementary School, and get an art class for free. It's funded by the Nevada Arts Council right now. We're doing it 3 days a week. We didn't get full funding, but it's going brilliantly. We've served, it's 3 weeks in, we've served over 350 kids. So we want to expand that.
Neighborhood, so thank you very much.
Have you seen it? I would encourage everybody to go down and take a look. It's awesome. And we want to expand it. It needs to be expanded for next year. We need to do it in more than one location.
Thank you for all your comments, Terry. I have 2 comments about your volunteers. Asking artists to volunteer to paint utility boxes and to teach classes. I respectfully, heartily disagree. Artists need to be paid for their work, even if it's not full-time salary. They need to be paid for their prep time and their time executing an activity. It's much more respectful for both the presenting agency and the artists that the artists are paid. No volunteer. And then your last comment, I had something to say. What was your last paragraph?
Reno Tahoe, Carson City Area Cultural.
Fine Arts.
Fine Arts.
Oh, thank you. Jazz and Beyond is expanding. They're presenting a film through the International Film Festival, and then they've invited CCAI to present. So we have artists selling artwork both on the Bliss Mansion porch on August 7th and in the lobby here on August 18th. So the Jazz and Beyond Festival is the nucleus for expanding into a bigger festival. So it's already happening.
I suppose we'll have to ask Jazz and the Beyond folks if that's how they envision that whole festival evolving, and if they're up for it. So, thank you.
They were in my performance.
Yeah.
That expanding that is.
Okay, so on to the third topic area, which is development and support. Barbara.
Organizational development and support. Well, we've already established this commission, done in 2008. And, you know, what is their role? Are they the local agency? And I looked at the mission or services of arts councils or commissions and what that might include. And everything that we have been talking about, there's like 11 points. And it really has to do with the background in terms of putting it all together, staging it, knowing who's doing what job. That's your support. These are the folks that we're going to have, and it all comes down to funding. The next point was develop a funded, fully staffed arts and culture department, city or nonprofit, one or the other. Identify all needed components to build a strategic plan, 3 years and 5 years, and the funding needed for each one of those components. Okay, the funding could be local government, state support, community support, business support. I think it's critical that business be involved. After all, we are marketing to them because we want to show that Carson City has indeed a fine cultural arts program, because they need to offer that to their employees. And in the piece that I read, the Cultural Commission piece that Peter's group did, they really say after salaries for employees, the culture of the city and the arts are the most important things that business is identifying. So what a marvelous opportunity to say, hey, help us in the forefront here, make this happen. These are whatever we want to say we're going to help give to business in terms of recognition. That's what we need to do. So I'm saying determination from the Brewery Arts Center, strategic plan, looking at how the mix can work there. Investigate the development of an art museum, a curated art museum. I mean, these are the things that I think we need to look at in relation to what I read in 2002. Okay, and seek funding is the last thing. And again, it's always going to come down to seek funding. And I think from conversations I've had with folks that we really need to develop an art advocacy program that involves children, bringing new artists to Carson City. That in itself is a business. And looking at structures, warehouses or whatever, where big art pieces could be made, where welding could happen, where all kinds of things could happen. That again is a business. And I think that those are what we need to focus on, is expanding the artist's role. And then that's basically it, looking at what we can do. But I think the marketing person who is a paid staff person should be a person who would be approaching all the businesses in Carson City and surrounding areas for their support. It takes a dedicated person to make that happen. That's it.
So Barbara,
We have another comment.
oh, okay, go ahead.
Karen About again for the record. Barbara, with regards to your points in terms of a curated museum and place for artists to weld and do all the rest of it, I think that at some point, as a collective commission, we need to bring back the Nevada State Prison Group and discuss that, because it would be perfect.
Oh, that would be perfect. So are you saying there was a group that had something to do with the prison or the prisoners?
Way back when, I mean, even when Jeffrey was still alive, we discussed the Nevada State Prison as an artist colony, something of that. They have definite goals and objectives in terms of how they need to move forward, but I feel like we need to engage as a commission with them in these early planning stages, because they have that kind of facility. And so that would be something that would be worthwhile. Again, it would come down to funding. I'm sure we'd have to pay a fee for the use of the facility, and or an artist would, or much like Burning Man does, they raise money for the art pieces to be created, and it's all part of using a facility to help, grow their creation. So I think that now the time is ripe to engage them.
I think that's a marvelous idea, and we wouldn't have to be out there trying to find another location. It already exists, and how could we work that out? So I think that's a really important point here. Do you agree?
Yes, you should add that.
Add that. That's it.
So, go
Sorry.
ahead. Go ahead, introduce yourself for the record.
CCAI and the Coalition. And in addition to having artists participate in the Jazz and Beyond Festival, both the CCAI and the Coalition have joined the Downtown Business Association, and we plan to have artists at Art Walk, or not at Art Walk, but at the Wine Walk. So we're slowly introducing different venues in. It could change the Wine Walk. We have no idea, but we're just going to throw ourselves in there. And we're going to start participating in September. And I think we have a sculptor for October. So, just slowly introducing and eventually having, as you say, an art festival. But we're trying it just step by step, baby steps, so we don't mess it up too badly. Thank you.
And are the historic tours, the ladies in the dresses, and is that a part, the Ghost Walk? The Ghost Walk.
The Ghost Walk.
We didn't mention that anywhere
Not
here,
yet.
and I think we should put that in, too.
It's,
Who puts on the Ghost Walk? Do we know?
Mary Bennett.
Mary Bennett from
Mary Bennett.
Reno.
Mike?
Mary Bennett from Reno?
Cindy Brenneman again. Mary Bennett from the Bruca Theater in Reno. I have her phone number someplace if you need it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have that under,
We'll get to it.
economic development and urban design.
You don't have that, I do.
I know, but I have that from my notes from Karen and I's and our first meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so I just, to clarify, if you edit your points for next meeting, could you, the determination from Brewery Arts Center is a little unclear, and what I have in my notes under development and support and the Brewery Arts Center ongoing discussion is that the city has invested some in the Brewery Arts Center through repairs and maintenance. So we need to make sure that it's mentioned somewhere that the city is supporting the Brewery Arts Center through building type maintenance.
Is it a line item in the city's budget now?
I don't believe so.
Thank you.
Karen, you can help me with this one, but I don't believe that there's a specific line item. I know sometimes the facility maintenance crews will go over there and sometimes help out occasionally, but I don't think it's a dedicated line item within the budget.
Okay. I knew that.
Well, Roger.
Yeah, I have to agree with Vern. We're responsible for the building, and the bigger maintenance.
Why is the city responsible for that building?
Because there is, Gina, you can correct me. There is an agreement with regards to that, and right, we have invested money initially in the brewery building itself.
Not the services, not the staff, not the anything.
It's very unclear, actually, from everything that I've seen, everybody I've talked to. 40 years ago, when they leased the Nevada Arts Alliance that building for $1 a year till 2074, the lines of responsibility are very, very unclear. Right now, they have helped tremendously. They're helping me right now with a lot of aspects of the building, but it's not drawn out in a line item. The duties and responsibilities of them as the official owners of the building, the city is not drawn out as to who's responsible for what. So it's kind of a negotiation every time, to say the least.
Well, it sounds like that if it was leased out at $1 a year, that there was at least an intention that at one point that you would be that local arts agency. I mean, because I don't see any other arts agency getting that kind of space. So it sounds like there was at least the intention that there would be duties that you were required to fulfill for Carson City. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, so maybe maybe we need to put a note under your bullets that some clarification on what the city's role is with the Brewery Arts Center. I mean, Roger, when he was attending these meetings, was pointing out that there has been some investment on the part of the city into the Brewery Arts Center through the form of maintenance and small repairs. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
They fixed the elevator, which was costly.
Yeah.
And they did allocate money for doing the exterior of the building, but then that was, because of the downturn, that stopped, and so only one wall was completed.
Okay.
That was a ship.
It's Gina again.
That was a SHPO grant, I think, that got the one side, and I'm looking into getting another one to do the remainder of the building for that. And, not only the elevator, but also they've redone the floors in the ballroom lately, in the last month or so. Looks fantastic. So they are contributing, and that...
In kind of.
Right, again,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you very much. And then also in my notes under organizational development and support from previous meetings, I have that CCAI needs to be described here with what their mission is. I'm not sure we have that in writing.
No.
And your Arts in Schools program. And Sharon Ross might be able to help us out with that.
Thank you. I don't have our mission memorized, but I can email it to you.
Okay.
And we have an artist in education program that we've been active with since 2004, primarily focusing on high schools in the region. We work with Carson High, Douglas High, Dayton High, Silver Stage High School. I thought there was, and Sierra Nevada College and WNC. Take our professional artists into the classroom to augment the existing hands-on curriculum by the high schools. So it's a very active program.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Are those teachers, are they paid? Is it a salaried thing? Sorry.
CCI pays honorarium to all our artists, and it includes when we set up the program with them, and they know they're going to do a talk. If they're doing a talk at the Brick, then they go to 2 schools. If they're doing an exhibition at the courthouse or here, then we set up school talks with them. Yes, it's part of their honorarium.
Thanks.
Okay, so anyone have any further thoughts on development and support? No? Okay, so we'll move on to leadership and training, which Danielle volunteered to summarize our updates.
Okay, so for leadership and training, we need to, well, as mentioned in the capital.
Creative capital.
Thank you. We need to reorganize the Capital Arts Coalition to function as a local arts agency and work to meet the goals laid out, provide training to arts organization staff, volunteers, coordinate efforts to achieve cultural and ethnic diversity. And so the additional bullets that I've added, the CCEACC needs to define its role and decide whether or not this is a job it wants to take on, and is a 501c3 feasible for it. The Brewery Arts Center needs to define its role as well. Now the Reno Arts and Cultural Manager, they've already made great strides, so mentoring from them and also mentoring from the Nevada Arts Council needs to be explored. There's no point in reinventing the wheel. We do need better participation numbers so that we can, just once again justify, what we're doing and what we want to do. Performers, audience, students, teachers, support services, volunteers. How many people are local? How many out-of-towners are we bringing in? How many people are, in Carson City are involved in the arts and culture in some way or another?
We can add here that the Visitors Bureau keeps track of the numbers of how many hotel
But not
rooms
why.
are being.
But not why.
Not why?
Yeah.
So that they know how many visitors are coming to Carson City.
But why are those visitors coming?
Yeah.
That's
a question to ask them, but I do know that they keep the numbers.
Yes.
But yeah, it's who is participating and where are they coming from. Nevada Day, I guess, is expecting to expand its cultural offerings, and also, already has several historical components. The Stewart Indian School is growing and has received funding, and they expect to expand their cultural offerings. We need to just determine who is responsible for funding and organizing the training. Training and grant writing and marketing is needed for the groups and the individual artists. The Carson City Arts and Cultural Coalition needs active participation by member groups so that it can speak speak for them all. Just as a point of contact. And we need to identify who the underserved groups are and what is limiting participation in the arts. I've got to commend the Brewery Arts Center on their pop-up art classes. That is huge. The location of the arts and cultural programs, because getting the kids to that, getting adults to that. Is it the cost, transportation? Is it language barriers? Are there just needs that aren't being filled? Personally, I would like to see, room in every single class because there's so many opportunities that you don't have a chance to fill everything. I want just 7 days a week at any time Because we are a 24-hour town in a lot, it's not just a Monday through Friday state workers. I mean, that's huge, but there's a lot of people that only have Sunday evening or Monday morning or Friday afternoon. So, just creativity. What can we plug in where? And then we need outreach to make the community aware of what is going on, and to attract new people, attract new sponsors, and really to encourage a sense of that we are a cultural community, that Carson City isn't just state workers and casinos. What can we do to get that identity for ourselves? And I think that's all I've got.
So, I have handwritten notes from our last meeting, so I don't blame you for not having this on there, but could we make sure and include that webinars may be a good way to foster leadership training that could be held at the Carson City Library or at WNC? They have facilities for streaming workshops.
You're terrific.
I also have, so we do need to do better to outreach to Asian, Native American, and Latinos in our community. I believe that the Nevada State Museum is filling a little bit of this void by having their cultural programming. Just last weekend, they had an archaeology, a Great Basin tribes and archaeology workshop for kids where
Family Fun Sundays.
Right, and so that's the one place where I see there's exposure to the Native American cultures that are right here in Carson City. Although, and I'm going to write something up about the contacts that I've made in the last week or so with some of the Native Americans who are involved in cultural programming in this area. But Nevada State Museum isn't steady, solid, all the time support. So, but with the Stewart School opening a cultural center, that may become a more regular, solid thing for them as an outlet to, give the rest of the community some exposure to their cultural events.
And Terry, sort of related regarding the Nevada State Museum, and was said at the CCBB meeting this week, we're getting a lot of visitors from a lot of different areas, Denmark, Germany, California, Arizona, Midwest, whatever. It's a huge disappointment that the museum is closed on Monday. And so I don't know what role or how as a cultural commission, but in some way we should probably make the effort to collectively write a letter, do something that encourages that it be open on Monday.
Yeah, to our legislators.
Yeah.
PK O'Neill would be a good place to start since he lives here.
I think what, at least, from my perspective when I was doing this, is we were looking at what our city resources is. And I know that, it's a state museum, and we have so limited power over what it does, and, and that's.
But PK could help us with that in terms of.
Peter Barton.
In Peter Barton? Gee.
Okay. Super. Thanks. So we just have one last area to cover unless anybody has any. Go ahead. Yeah, Barbara, did you have any more comments about
on what Danielle said?
leadership and training? Yeah.
I certainly think that we should take advantage of Nevada Arts Council, et cetera, because it's already put
already put together. There is absolutely no reason why we should reinvent the wheel.
And we don't have to travel to Vegas to send
Right,
our local
right.
arts groups to attend their workshops.
And they're more, expensive workshops, and they are more than happy to be helpful and mentor us, if you will. That's about it.
Okay.
I have fundraising comments, but that's not here.
Okay, so, moving right on to the sixth topic that was identified in Creative Capital.
Fifth.
Economic.
Oh, I'm sorry. Barbara, let's do economic development. I'm jumping the gun. Economic development and urban design.
Okay, and I just wrote, we need a comprehensive and inclusive definition of artists and art coordinated into a superior arts and culture plan, because that's the way we're going to get city support, state support. We can have all the touchy-feelies we want and love art and all the rest of it, but they have to approve the funding, and we better make this clean and clear and supported with information as to why we're requesting what we do. We need the support of community. We need folks joining the Brewery Arts Center and other organizations, and we need business support, drawing artists, visitors, local public, and Nevadans from surrounding areas. Businesses are now including culture and art as one of their top criteria for bringing their employees to Carson City. And the Visitors Bureau, they'll tell you that. I mean, you talk to NNDA, they will say that to you. The Chamber will say that to you. So how can we benefit from that? Ideally, all current types of art locations, and organizations needs to be clearly and specifically identified so we know what they're doing. And then I put my bullets say one centralized, coordinated, impartial local arts agency, as the CCAC was invented, if you will, in 2008. Improve aged infrastructure citywide. Have coordinated designs. That in itself is artistic, and that would be really cool. Whether it's painting colors, whether it's murals, whatever we're doing, that would be wonderful. A dedicated full staff or a city department fully funded. Commitment of funds over 5 years. In other words, well, it's not going to be in the budget this year, but it might be in the budget next year, but maybe the year after that. There needs to be a commitment, both from the state and from the city, on that issue. Seek warehouse space for artists to create works, public art displays with seating areas, artistic design of and for buildings and office spaces, historic preservation and capitalization, Stewart Indian Complex preservation, which is already in the works, state funded, but they can have tours, events, fundraisers, et cetera, there. Downtown beautification improvements, that's already in the works. So from the 2002 to now, this is what at least I'm seeing is happening. CVB coordination with the arts, marketing, brochures, maps, etc. And a commitment of and by for funds, artistic groups, locations, information, marketing, and fund development. Now, I really at some point I hope we can do this 2011 piece, because it is clearly identified what an arts council or a commission may include. And it's some pretty heady stuff. Right. And I hope that we look economic development efforts that create, economies through art industries. There's a lot of good stuff here that we can add.
Go ahead.
And I just would like to add, and to Danielle's point, that arts do not just live on the west side, that all the corridors will be receiving, some component of public art. The capacity exists in all sectors of the downtown. So I mean, all sectors of the town. So I don't want it just to be defined as the downtown.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I only said downtown because that is in the works, but certainly it needs to expand. Have we had any feedback on the banners on the highway? Have we heard anything from anyone as to,
Last I know, Joel was working on trying to get those banners up on Fairview. I was driving down Fairview the other day, and I didn't see them up yet. So I'm sure that's in the works. He came by the office and got something from me 2-3 weeks ago, maybe a little longer than that. So I know it's on his plate. I don't know, Karen, if you have an update.
Yeah. But that's a start.
Oh, yeah, no, it's a good start. I mean, as the commission knows, we had the images here that we looked at. I think it was in January that we had a chance to look at that. The city has offered crew time and equipment to put up the banners. So we're just kind of waiting on where Joel gives us the green light to get going. So at least that's last I've heard anyway, so.
And I would just like to mention for the record that there's an author whose name is Richard Florida, who's written several books about if you develop your cultural aspect of your city, businesses will relocate there. You'll get more money for your schools because businesses and new families are moving in and supporting a broader tax base. He writes about how critical arts and culture is to economic development of towns. It's not just a fun extra thing. So I just encourage anybody out there listening.
What's the name of the book?
He's written several. His name is Richard Florida.
Terry, glad you mentioned that. In questioning for the Visitors Bureau candidates, that was one of my questions. Would the Visitors Bureau be willing to fund public art or the arts? Because it does put heads in beds. The comments were that the Cultural Commission needs to present a strong case to do that. So I would think that in our task of moving forward, we need to look at that, okay?
Well, and that's really one of the main reasons I know that I want numbers, is because I know that's how you talk to Joel, is he wants to see the numbers of what it's doing. And we've got to be more than just sports complexes, you know?
So I'm just adding one note here, Barbara. So the case needs to be made to the Board of Supervisors and the public about how cultural things of all types, performances, events, just things that you see visually as you're walking down the street or driving down the street, how that benefits the economics of our community.
And Terry, it needs to be presented to the Visitors Bureau. Remember, separate entity. So it's a different deal. And
CCVP.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
About how cultural.
And there's a very strong,
Ready.
but there's a very strong section in the 2011 that speaks to that issue.
Okay, super.
So
Thank you for reading.
And I thought, whoa! I just.
Why is it beneficial for community to have a commission or an agency who pulls it all together? Because communities invest in the arts and culture because they believe that arts, activities, cultural resources, and creative communities and industries enhance the quality of life for local and future residents. Having a single agency that represents the arts can help organizations coordinate activities, unify behind a common cause or issue, which is strength in coming to the supervisor, facilitate partnerships and ensure access to an equitable division of public or community resources for the arts. So, and that's in the, we'll get to that when we talk about it. But the case is already made. And I'm sorry it never got passed because, well, there's 4 years. But it really is the number one reason why businesses are coming to this town, and folks who are retiring out of big cities and so on and so on are looking for the art experience as a part of why they come here. Okay, I'm done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Gina, I have one more comment with that. Love Richard Florida. He's got some really great numbers that go along with, every dollar spent in the arts generates $7 in non-arts revenue for the economy. But what we're missing here, and I don't think it's mentioned, and I think it's an important part of the master plan, is adding the A to the STEAM program for the Carson City School District. If you're talking about bringing the arts into, using that as an economic driver to bring business, that needs to be part of the conversation as far as bringing young families in and entrepreneurs.
So I guess that would, in adding that, so that'd be the school board, pretty much,
Yes.
that we need to coordinate.
That would be leadership, I mean, I
It
don't know, would that
actually
be
is part of their plan.
Okay.
Yeah, it is part of their plan. It's all about funding and all the rest of it, but STEAM has been recognized as how they're moving forward.
So how can we, as a commission, how can we encourage?
Well,
encourage that?
I'm thinking that twice a year, the Board of Supervisors meets with the school board. We could either come as a commission and speak to that then, or they meet monthly, and we can go to that meeting. The school board does, so.
We don't have enough to.
But I do, I think we definitely, that's a pie we want our finger in.
Mm-hmm.
Is,
Yeah.
if we get them while they're young, they'll.
Right,
Yeah.
budding new artists.
Right, hook them while they're young.
And grow them in the garden of.
Do we add specific words like unify, which would include also the kids in the school programs, coordination, unify, all of those, how to pull it together into one strong arts community? Okay, I'm done. Mike.
Okay, so now we'll move on to the last heading, which was identified as fundraising. And I volunteered to summarize the updates that were suggested by the different commissioners. Quickly, what the Creative Capital document in 2002 identified was 2 points. One was to examine the potential of a local options tax to provide a consistent revenue stream in coordination with other entities such as the Historic Resources Commission, libraries, and tourism. Similar kinds of funding. Number two, if a local arts agency for Carson City is established and identified, ensure that its role is to develop support and resources for the entire arts community. Okay, so my updates aren't that long. I have 3 paragraphs, it looks like. So I'll go ahead and read this into the record. An arts ordinance for Carson City is currently drafted and awaiting approval by the Board of Supervisors. This would add much-needed funding for arts and culture in our city. First, however, the adoption of an arts and cultural master plan needs to precede the ordinance. Another potential funding source is the V&T bond account. It's unclear, though, what the Board of Supervisors will do when the debt is retired, but they may elect to renew it, from what I understand. Another recommendation is to include an optional $1 for the arts box to check on citizens' utility bills. Private donors, successful Carson City-based business owners, for example, should be solicited for special projects or ongoing support. A portion of room tax may be another source of funds from the city. I just threw that in there because it was mentioned as a recommendation. Membership dues for the local arts agency may also fill the need for ongoing funds. A full-time staff member with additional administrative assistance who is dedicated to promotion of arts and culture in Carson City would be the ideal eventual outcome of dedicated funds. This individual will be charged with applying for arts and culture grants, distributing calls for proposals to artists and arts groups, and planning citywide events and installations, among other duties. There have been multiple discussions about where this position would be located. Within the local arts agency or city offices is the question. That decision will have to be carefully deliberated when funds are finally available. As noted in Creative Capital, the art community would need absolute assurance that if a local arts agency housed a full-time staff member paid for by city funds, that that person would be available to all arts community members. It may be decided that the arts and culture staff members should be housed within city offices to avoid perceptions of conflict of interest. And then my final sentence is potential additional governmental funding sources include Nevada Arts Council, National Endowment of the Arts, and the National Endowment for the Humanities. And that's all I have.
Comments? Concerns?
I'd like to ask for public comments because this is the end of that agenda item. And Sharon Ross is going to provide more thoughts.
Thank you for those funding comments. My comment doesn't have anything to do with what you were just saying. I just wanted to let you know that Capital City Arts Initiative was included in the state-of-the-art Nevada Museum of Arts event this afternoon for State of the Arts. They invited 16 organizations, most of them from Reno. They included St. Mary's from Virginia City, pardon me, and CCAI to be in that event, so we were very honored. They were covering a lot of the questions that you were discussing in the cultural review. Yes, yes. KMPB apparently is recording it, so I don't know if it's going to be on a YouTube or on their website or how it will be, but apparently it's in the atrium. It's free. It's from 1 to 6:30 this afternoon if anybody wants to go.
Can you please give me the title of that symposium?
State of the Arts. So come if you can. It'd be good to see familiar faces.
Okay, so before I move on to C, I just want to thank the subcommittee members for all of your hard work. I know that we've put in a lot of extra time on this, each one of us, and thanks again for sticking in there with me. And I think we are near the point of submitting something to the full commission and setting up a workshop with them. So again, I just want to thank you for all your hard work. Before we go to C, which is to select a date for the workshop with the full commission, I'm not sure we can do that without everybody's schedules in front of us, but we'll discuss that. I wanted to ask the subcommittee what their pleasure is as far as what we need to do for the next meeting and whether or not we'll be ready to draft a document possibly with Vern's help at the city, at the Parks and Rec's office, to draft and post online so that it's available to all the commissioners and to the interested public. So what do you think we need to wrap up?
I strongly suggest we review the strategic plan that was developed in 2011.
Okay.
I really do. It is just so clear. And everything we're talking about is there. And I think, is there anything we want to extrapolate from that to add to the final plan that we want to turn in? And I would hope that we're going to synthesize all of this so that it's there's a lot of information, a lot of work, and we need to really tighten it up and have it succinct for the Board of Supervisors and our own full commission.
Yeah, I'm moving for the next couple of weeks. I just know that I don't have.
Mike, please, Mike.
I'm in the process of moving over the next couple of weeks, so I just trying to think of what kind of time I can.
Here's my suggestion, is that we edit our comments from what, today's discussion is. Now, what's the pleasure of the subcommittee? Can we do that within a week and get those to Vern so that they can be posted? Or should we just come with them edited to submit as a part of the overall body of the document that's going to be pulled together for the commissioners? I suspect we'll be meeting with all of them in August.
So are you saying, because sort of going like what I
Mike,
did
please.
was to-
Mike,
oh,
Barbara,
To turn around and just take all the words and put them into bullets? Is that what you're looking for?
That's what I'm...
Okay, mine's done.
Okay, so you didn't have any comments to add for your editing?
No, not really.
Okay. Well, I was wondering okay. So your different
I can look at
areas.
I'll look at it.
So if you could just type up the comments instead of handing them to Vern for him to type, because as you know, they are short on staff right now.
He doesn't do any of this. I do it and I make 15 copies.
and trust me, staff is appreciative.
So let's just concentrate on getting our editing changes from today's discussion into our two respective areas.
Yeah.
We will discuss the strategic plan
Okay,
at
cool.
the next meeting. And then after that, okay, so I have some contacts still to make. Nobody's looked at the state demographer's website. I will do that.
Okay.
I'll do it. I've reached out to some Native Americans. I have some more reaching out to do. I have a few contacts here that were sent to me from Pat Atkinson, the folk life coordinator at Nevada Arts Council, of people who are involved in arts in this area. The one woman that she identified is the Latino diversity coordinator up at WNC. Her name is Lupe Ramirez. Would anybody like to call her?
I just don't have time.
Okay, I can call her. You'd like to call her? So I've talked to Melba Rakow, who's in Washoe storyteller, but who has also written books. And she informs me that the Washoe kids are putting on little plays about Washoe legends, which is really fun. I don't know if they can open those up to the wider community. But anyway, so I've contacted a few of these that Pat Atkinson forwarded. There's another gentleman named Norbert Yao. He's from Cote d'Ivoire and is a teaching artist on the artist roster with the Nevada Arts Council. He does programs at the Children's Museum. If somebody would like to, he teaches drumming, dancing, and West African culture. If somebody would like to call him, I'm happy to. And then there was...
Can we ask somebody who's not on this subcommittee to do it?
No?
Okay.
We don't have any authority to make anybody do anything.
Okay. No, I said ask.
And then there's...
Gina knows.
No, that's fine. So I'll work with, I will talk to him about if he needs, like, what kinds of ideas for support, programming, getting out into the community. And then one final person is Mike Dang, who's at the Department of Business and Industry and Housing that works for the state. He is a person who gathers a group of Hawaiians together and is interested in creating a Hawaiian Pacific Islander festival in town.
Ooh, fun.
So would anybody like to contact him? And I can do it. It's no problem. It's just a phone call.
We've actually been in talks with having some festivals of that sort at the Brewery Arts Center.
Okay,
for
super.
Yeah, so if I can get that.
I'm going to include that. So what I'm going to do is call these last few folks on my list, get the state demographers census, the statistical data on our community's demographic makeup, and write up a little blurb on diversity of events and opportunities for developing further, diversity in our repertoire of events in Carson City. And I will bring that to the next committee meeting. I don't know if I probably won't have all the phone calls made before posting time, but I'll try, okay? So that's what I'm gonna do. And other than that, just please make your editing changes from our discussion today in your two respective comments, and we'll read through the strategic plan so we can discuss it.
Okay, I don't think Danielle has it. You have it?
Yes.
I just haven't read it in the last couple.
Yeah, staff provided that for the July 15th meeting, subcommittee meeting. It was put in your packet and the email from Peter Barton. So you should have it. If you do not, I'm more than happy to resend that.
Okay, I'll ask, I'll look.
Okay, but yeah, it should have been with, because this is what staff was feeling, was that as you were moving forward, that was an important document. Peter brought that up at the full meeting a while back. So staff put it in, I believe it was the July 15th subcommittee meeting packet associated with the agenda item for the Arts and Cultural Master Plan as an FYI item. And if you guys want to bring that back at the August 12th meeting as a specific agenda item to discuss, we certainly can do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's discuss it then. Where are we meeting?
Up here, still?
Well, so item 3C is to select a date in August for a Cultural Commission workshop. I'm going to propose a week or two after our August 12th meeting.
And I think that's fine. I think what staff was more interested in was, is the commission ready to move forward with a workshop? And that's kind of more in my mind what that agenda item was about, is to say, okay, we probably do need to get back together. As Karen mentioned at the last meeting, we need to be a little proactive simply because of schedules and everything else. And if the committee can think that the July, August 12th one would work to have, if you will, one last more meeting to go over a few more things before we're ready, then my suggestion is that we would probably look at the last week and the last Saturday in August, possibly, if that doesn't conflict with Labor Day. But it doesn't? Okay. So that would be a suggestion. And what we'll have to do as staff is that if the commission kind of wants to give that as a general guideline, we can start cross-checking people's schedules with the other committee members to see if that last weekend in August would work for a workshop for everybody. Plus, we're going to have to find a room. The other thing that we've had some preliminary discussions about is, do we want a facilitator? There might be an opportunity to bring in a facilitator to help with that. And I don't know, I didn't know if that would be something the commission would be interested in, or the subcommittee would be interested in. I'm thinking of one particular person in specifically, but I just didn't know how the workshop wanted to be set up either, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that.
I've been thinking about this because 7 people up at the dais trying to edit a 10-page document is going to be really cumbersome, and I really want the public to have input, specifically the organizations that are named in our document. I'm wondering, though, as our last summer tour with the Reno Arts and Culture Manager was posted online and made available to the public, but that turned out to be a one-on-one type of discussion walking around Reno. The public was notified and they could have shown up for that, but they didn't. And I'm wondering if there is a way that we can set the crunch workshop where we're going to all put our heads down and get this document drafted. If there's a way that we can do it facing each other at a big table and notify the public that it's happening, but really that won't be the time. The meeting, the full regular meeting, like in September when the Cultural Commission meets again, may be the time to have everybody stand up, because they will have a draft document to actually read. So any thoughts on this? Maybe a facilitator is the way to go.
Yeah, it'll of course depend on open meeting laws is really the.
Well, that's why I'm trying to figure out.
And I think we could do this. I think it's, when it comes to the open meeting law, as long as we can meet somewhere where it can be recorded, there are venues. Peter Barton offered up the State Museum, and as long as we could record it, it would be a spot. Certainly, if it was a Saturday, we could set up the Sierra Room in a more of a less formal situation with you guys up at the dais. We've done that before down on the floor, so we could certainly do those kind of things. The library has a space we might be able to do. So room availability is going to be critical. But I think there is a way we could set this up. The gentleman who at least I've initially talked to, and I haven't had a chance to confirm this with Roger, so I may be freewheeling here, and he always is a little concerned when I do that publicly, but I have approached an individual. He is open to this. I don't know what his schedule is because I didn't know if the committee or subcommittee even wanted to even entertain the idea of a moderator of some kind or a facilitator. So I didn't really tie him down, but I did approach him, and at least initially, to say, would you be willing to come in and help us sort through some of this stuff? And so
I think it's brilliant.
Okay.
And I think it's brilliant because look how we can get off on a sentence. And just to bring people back and stay on point so that the birds aren't flying, that we're all, we can just get too far out there. And we've done that when Brewery Art, we had a facilitator, and it just moved everything. I think it's a good idea.
Okay. Well, then, so what we've got is some moving parts here, and I'm more than willing to try to herd these cats into an actual date. But if based on room availability, these are my caveats, okay? Based on room availability somewhere that we can have a recording, based on this facilitator's schedule, if that works for him, and then if we can make sure we have the opportunity to get the full commission members together, or at least the majority. I'd like to have all 7, of course, but again, it's that may be a little more problematic too. But we'll try to target that last weekend as a starting point for staff to start putting this together the last weekend in August.
Okay, so if we can wrap up on the 12th and each have our submissions under the 6 topics, would you be available, Vern, for me to come over to your office and insert everybody's submissions into the working document that summarizes creative capital with insert update here, insert update here, insert update here, so that we have something to work with when we meet with the full commission?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so I could come and we could just do it at your computer and be done.
Well, we could give it a try. Now, the other little dilemma I have is that I'm going to be gone the last 2 weeks of August. So
we could do it right after the 12th.
And that's what I would propose, if we could do that right after the 12th, because daughters are going to school, those kind of things. It's time to go take her to school. But so right now, Roger's given me permission to not the last 2 weeks of August I have off. But we could get some of this stuff set up. We'll probably need to get you in the room with the facilitator to talk about how we want to set this up. So there'll be some things that we can do prior. And probably.
But I just want to make sure that we have a draft document to provide to the commissioners, so when they show up for our workshop, whenever it is, if Saturday mornings doesn't work, we are not married to that. It's, whatever, I know that's what was discussed, but maybe a Friday night with pizza would be better.
And that's
so anyway. I'm just saying.
Right. Well, let me run it a Saturday. The thing I like about a Saturday morning or a morning session is everybody's fresh. You can come, have some coffee, some pastries, and kind of work till about noon or 1, and everybody goes home. I think that's better than after a full week's worth of work coming in after 6 o'clock, or getting here by 6 or 5:30 or 6, and then working till 10 or 11. I just have seen with other commissions and committees, it just you start to bail about 7:30. You start to peter off about 7:30, and then it just gets ugly after about that.
We totally all agree. So shortly after the 12th, I will meet with you and we will insert, so what we'll need is electronic copies of what you've typed up.
Okay.
At that point, on the 12th or after, right after, okay? So that's.
Right. Preferably, I would love to have those sometime middle of next week, because if I have to turn around and start posting an agenda, and I've got to get those out. It'd be nice to have those to go out in the packet for the 12th, if that's possible.
Sure.
Okay, we can probably do that. My new write-up about diversity and the census data and stuff will not be ready for posting because I'm leaving on Saturday for almost a week.
All right, that's fair.
Okay, so,
So anyway, get to me what you can. It would be probably a week from today that I would probably have to have it, because I believe we post Thursday of next week for the meeting on the 12th, I think. Anyway, I got to look at the schedule to make sure, but if I recall right in the staff report, we have identified our next meeting to be the 12th. Yeah.
Then can we look, if we're gonna look at doing the workshop at the end of August, can we go ahead and cancel the August 26th meeting? Well, we'll know for sure on the 12th exactly what kind, what, we still have a couple questions about scheduling and facilitator and whatnot, but if we end up scheduling that workshop, that seems a little right on top of each other.
I think we should go ahead and, for item 3C, we can't really take action on scheduling the full commission for the workshop. So Vern's going to work on that. We've discussed it. We're not going to act on that today, but item 3D is to cancel the subcommittee's August 12th or August 26th meeting. I move that we cancel August 26th.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah,
Well, first off,
put
you
a
need
lot of
public
time in.
discussion. First off, you need public discussion before you vote. The only thing,
Anybody want to come again on August 26th? Okay.
When do we have to make the presentation to the Board of Supervisors? What's the date?
I think we're looking at January, I believe,
I
sometime
thought
in
it was
January.
6 months, that we were given 6 months to
that was,
Yeah,
put this
6
puppy
months.
together.
but we've also got to go to the planning.
We have to do all that? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you do. My suggestion would be, though, and again, I mean, Karen, you were the one that actually made the motion, but I think, at least from staff's perspective, it was one of those things that, from a timing perspective, I think it would be important to go back to the board in January to say, here's what we've come up with, what are your thoughts? Not necessarily ask for adoption at that point, because it takes a while to go through the public process, because we just can't make it if we have to go to the Planning Commission plus them. I would go back, my suggestion would be, and Karen, see if you're open to this, is to go back and get a feel from the board on where we're headed. Because in order to submit to the Planning Commission, we've got to go to the Planning Commission sooner than that,
Why do we have to go to the Planning Commission?
because it's a master plan, and that NRS requires us to go, it's a master plan for the community. NRS
Okay.
requires us to go to the Planning Commission first and then to the Board of Supervisors.
I don't know, though, that we need to come, because we have gone back again to the draft board a couple of times, and they're kind of waiting for us to come forward with. So I think we need to come forward with our plan.
Okay.
I think that's how it should work.
Well, and I think after our September meeting, we'll undoubtedly get some public input
Yes.
on our draft.
And we'll know
After
what
that,
we need to
we won't,
massage.
We won't need a subcommittee again.
Right.
We'll have something to present.
Yeah, I would agree. And so I think we present that this is the body of work that we have presented. We've reached out to the community. We've done all of our due diligence at that point in time. It's time to present the plan.
Okay.
When we present the plan, do we have to have sort of a fund, not particularly request, but at least a statement of what we think we need?
Well,
That's what I.
it's already, I mean, first of all, the public art ordinance is already written. And they've already heard that once, and we brought it back to massage that. So perhaps we bring both of those issues together. Maybe that's something that we do. I mean, it's time. It's been over a year, and they asked us to go back and review certain aspects of it, so perhaps we do that. And it's presented as a package. So there's a beginning of a funding mechanism there.
Is there a number?
we've identified 3 different avenues in terms of funding. As far as how much money can we raise from it, no. There's not a specific number, but it does define different avenues in terms of,
That's up to the board.
opening the door to funding for the arts.
Right.
We're an unfunded committee, so we're trying to generate that. In the meantime, we get our case together to see if we can come before the Visitors Bureau and find another source. And in the meantime, maybe staff can look into what it takes to get into, to $1 for the arts on utility bills. What's involved with that? So, I think we do our due diligence and plan for January in terms of, and be the second meeting in January probably.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so.
Can we check with David Dolly's office in terms of, can there be a little box on your
Property taxes?
property tax?
I think that we charge staff with that to see what avenue is possible.
Yeah, because I know in the Bay Area they do that.
Is it property taxes or utility bills?
Let's put it everywhere. Anywhere that you can put a box, let's put a box.
Okay.
The comment was made previously that many property tax bills homeowners never see because their taxes are encumbered. So it would be better to do something, utility bills.
Yeah, mine gets sent to my mortgage.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, so you don't see them.
But you can also set that up with them.
Anyway.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, so shortly after August 12th then, depending on, so we should have comments to insert into the summary document of the creative capital. So our 2015 updates under those 6 different topics, and then it'll be available for the commission when the full commission meets. September meeting is coming up, and I know this is just a subcommittee, so it sounds like we'll be discussing the draft master plan at the September meeting. And the ordinance, I suspect we should probably go over that and just make sure that everybody's on board and knows what's going on with that. Because we're only going to have one more regular meeting before January. Okay? I know this is just a subcommittee. So.
But our workshop, I guess, because on August 12th, we'll meet together as a group. So, yes, as a subcommittee. But then we'll have a workshop. Let's look at that workshop at the end of August and see what we need to do to start facilitating that, is, putting that all together. And then that way, everyone's kind of on the same page when we meet together in September.
And I'd like to ask Gina if we can get copies of the strategic plan, just in now what you've heard today, if you need to make any alterations or additions, you can do that.
Yeah, can you please send that to Vern?
Yeah.
Gina?
And I can get it
Thank you.
distributed, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we don't have a date for the workshop, right?
No, we're targeting the last weekend in August. I don't have a calendar in front of me, I'm sorry, but that's what we're looking at.
Okay, so let's go back to the original motion to cancel the subcommittee's August 26th meeting. So I so move? We voted, but then we had to.
You have to have public comment first before you vote. It's always nice to have public comment before you vote.
So we have canceled the August 26th meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have an idea of what we're going to be doing at the next meeting? No.
Yeah, let me just kind of repeat back what I think we're doing, okay? Yeah. So at the next subcommittee meeting, we'll of course be having a specific agenda item on the strategic plan, so you can talk specifically about that particular item. We will re-agendize item B. That's just part of the whole ongoing process to allow us to talk about that.
To develop the master plan.
Right, and then my suspicion is we would have a third agenda item just talking about the workshop, kind of where we are at with it, what's going on, that kind of a thing. So I see 3 agenda items, at least right out of the chute, And unless there's some others you can add, but those are my three that I see.
So are you saying, to review, you're talking about the strategic plan of 2011?
Yes, ma'am,
Yeah, because you
yes.
didn't date it, so I'm. okay.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes, the
That one,
strategic
yeah,
plan that
that
you've been
one.
talking about, yes.
Okay.
And then it might even be worth, and I don't know, we can either just put it in as an FYI item, but the Brewery Arts Center strategic plan, that might even be a fourth item, although that means Gina would have to come back. Or this time send
I
Kyle,
don't
because he might have slept in
Maybe
on us.
we,
I don't think she minds.
No, I said also I'd like to offer up the ballroom
Oh,
for the meeting.
I'm sorry, you gotta do it.
Sorry. I don't mind coming back, whatever you need, and also I'd like to offer up the ballroom for our meeting.
Well, thank you. All right.
We'd be able to film it. It'd be a perfect location.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Oh, cool. Oh, really? Want to be filmed?
you're being filmed right now. We are, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So, I don't know if we should have the Brewery Arts Center strategic plan also on the agenda. That might be a little too much homework between now and then.
All right, fair enough.
But at least we'll get it submitted, and we'll have it ready for the full commission, because the full commission needs to get in on the conversation with Brewery Arts Center.
Well, can we include, well, for our workshop, though, I mean, because everyone will get a copy, I guess, of this, and then also the strategic plan and the public arts ordinance, if we're going to at least attempt to kind of bundle these all together. So these are all documents that we'd need for our workshop.
Did we ever discuss, well, the CCAI is going to give us their plan. Do we need any from anybody else? Weren't you going to give us the description of your organization, your mission, your everything? Yeah.
Mission statement.
Do we need any from anybody else?
Sharon, if you could get that to me, then what I'll do is I'll send yours out at the same time I send Gina's out.
Thank you.
That'd be easy to do. Then they would have that as a reference.
Yeah, it's just a reference.
Just the mission statement.
I believe that's what you're asking for.
Well,
Do you have a strategic plan?
No.
Okay. How about just the mission statement?
mission statement.
Okay, so I believe, unless there are any further public comments, we're at the end of the meeting now. Going once. Okay, so do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second.
Thank you very much, subcommittee, for all of your hard work.
It's fun working with you guys.
All right.